Hi, I'm Stevie Fernandez.
And I'm Trish Whitmer. Thank you so much for including Explore Tulsa in your day.
1989, Trish, and I was one of those watching Back to the Future and believing that in 2015 we would have flying cars and hoverboards.
Well, they did have conference calling on TVs, correct? You can even do that on smart LED TVs you'll find at Video Revolution.
Yeah, but a time machine would be so cool.
What would you do with a time machine?
I would go back and introduce the musical greeting card. Those things are so much fun.
Out of all the things you could bring back to the past, you would take back the musical greeting card?
Think how much happier everyone would be today if they'd have gotten a musical greeting card 26 years ago.
You know, we don't need a big fancy time machine to go into the past.
Is there an app for that?
No, but in Sapulpa, there is a museum that has the past all set up for everyone to enjoy.
The city of Sapulpa was incorporated in 1898, just a few months after the city of Tulsa was. People lived here well before then, mostly Creek Indians. Chief Sapulpa came here in 1855, ran a trading post, and then later started raising cattle, befriended the railroaders who started coming over here in the mid-1880s, who called him chief, though he was really a Creek Indian elder, but not chief, and started referring to this as Sapulpa Station on the railroad. So when we incorporated, everybody already knew us as Sapulpa. When we became a division point for the Frisco Railroad is the early boom, and then in 1905 the Glenpool oil strike, the town really started growing after that. So, but the early Sapulpa was very much a railroad town. It was our biggest paying employer and our best paying employer for the first 30 years that we were here. Well, in the 1960s, and under sort of an urban renewal kick, they put a lot of facades on the front of our brick buildings, and they tore down some of our historical buildings, and that sort of led to some people forming the Historical Society and trying to influence some of those decisions to maintain some of our downtown historical buildings. So at that time there was just 5 of them, and they recruited another 30 or so who went out and got another 100 or so, and it just sort of grew from there. They didn't have a building, or any place to store the artifacts, so they filled up their spare bedrooms and garages, and eventually rented storage space until we got this building in 1980, and then we had a home. The first room as you come into the museum is sort of an 1890s, early 1900s, with a men's clothing store and a ladies' millinery, and a display that depicts an old livery stable, one of the first 2 or 3 buildings in town. And then Egan Brothers Mercantile, which is just a general store, has sold a lot of different types of items and bartered with the local farmers. And then we come into this room, and half of it is dedicated to our school system, the early school buildings. And then the other half of the room is for the railroad, which was one of our early businesses, big businesses. And it shows the roundhouse and turntable and our Harvey House Hotel and Restaurant that was built in 1907 and then expanded in 1912. In the next room, we'll see some kitchens, one around 1890s and then the 1930s. What a schoolroom might have looked like, in early Sapulpa, and then a display showing a lot of the toys the kids used to play with, the yo-yos, the Red Ryder BB guns, and such. And then on the second floor, which was originally the Lee Hotel and then later became the YWCA, they have individual rooms that are deemed out, one having to do with our territorial courthouse that Sapulpa had. A diorama showing what the town looked like in 1929, a Creek and Yuchi room showing some artwork and some of the artifacts from the Creek families who have donated here to the museum. A room dedicated to the oil industry and some of the pictures from the early oil rigs and stuff like that. It's a good way of telling the history of the Sapulpa, and many of the families here are generational, so you get a sense of what they went through and how they came to be here, and also for those who are traveling to get a sense of what Oklahoma was like, because it wasn't all plains. There were early businesses and people who strove and worked real hard in order to create what we have today.